Hey guys, so how's it going? This video was requested by some of you guys after Wikicat had hit some of those prices that I recently shared with you in my Wikicat video around the 601 area. I had spoken about this area as a place to look for, to know if Wikicat is starting to become bullish. In my recent video, and you guys have seen that it had taken out that price point and went on to pump even higher. So first, what I'm about to do is basically share my opinions based off what I'm observing in the charts. None of what I'm about to say is to be taken as financial advice at all. So as long as you guys understand that, we can go forward. Okay, so this is Wikicat on the daily time frame. And we see that it has been using this purple line here as support. So it looks pretty bullish on the daily so far, guys. Hopefully it continues in this way. But from my observation, if we take a look down here at the volume, what do we see? We see that the volume appears to be declining. The volume is on the decline while it's appearing to start consolidating right here. Even as it did down here, the volume was declining while it was just beginning to consolidate. So the same thing appears to be happening here. And this declining volume also indicates weakness. It's basically telling you that it's kind of running out of steam as far as the pump. So hence why it's starting to slowly consolidate here on the daily. So first, I'm going to give you the bearish scenario, and then afterwards, I'm going to give you the bullish scenario. What we want to look for, like the signs that we want to look for if we want to know if it's getting ready to go on that run that we've been expecting for quite a while. So let's go ahead and pull it up here on the weekly. Okay, so this is Wikicat on the weekly, guys. Now, the first thing that I observe after seeing these candles is, compared to these candles, they appear to be very small. They're not as powerful. So that's the first observation that I make. If this was to be the pump that we're all looking for, the one that will most definitely take out this all-time high here, all the way up here at a 6065, we would have bigger, more powerful weekly candles. You see, just like these over here. They will be even more bigger than these. Whenever the pump comes that we're all expecting, the life-changing pump, we will see God candles on the daily. We will see God candles on the weekly. We will see God candles even on the monthly, guys. You see? So these candles, in my opinion, they're not the type of candles that you want to see before that sort of pump that we're all expecting. And then another thing is this. So remember I said this is the weekly candle. Usually they close on around 7 p.m. Eastern time on Sundays. So tonight, this weekly candle is going to close. Now, what we don't want to see, the bearish scenario, is if the majority of this wick, if this candle is closed with the majority of this wick being bigger than the rest of the candle. You see, we don't want to see this candle closing with a prominent wick at all, with a long wick, a wick that has taken up majority of the body of this candle. So we don't want it to close too much down here. You see, if it closes too much down here around the 601 area, it would be an indication that perhaps this move, all of this move, has ran out of steam and has also topped out. Because these prominent wicks are usually indicative of a top. So the bearish scenario is that what has occurred right there was Wikicat forming a lower low If that candle right there is a topping tail, is acting like a topping tail, then that means that it's going to roll over and come all the way back down here, guys. That's the bearish scenario. Because like I said, on the daily, it's currently bullish on the daily. However, on the weekly, we have to watch where this candle closes tonight at 7 p.m. Because if it closes even lower than where it's currently at 6014, if it closes down at 6012, anywhere down here, that would be a clear sign that this move has already topped out. And we don't want that at all. So the bullish scenario for Wikicat on the weekly would be if this candle closes all the way up here at what, 6017. Let's put it this way. The less wick that we have, the better it is. You see, the shorter the wick, the better it is. The more bullish, it's a more bullish signal. And the longer the wick, it's more indicative of a top of this, small move that we just recently experienced. So we have to watch where this weekly candle is going to close. We have to observe it because it could very well be forming a lower high than this one. And if that is the case, we know that it's going to go all the way back down here. And what it's doing is forming something very common on the charts. It's forming this triangular pattern, which is actually bearish. You see, it's going to play out very bearish if that is the case. So that is what I'm observing. The bullish scenario for Wikicat on the weekly is if, however, it could pump above this blue line that I just placed here on the screen and come back up at the top of this candle, the top of this candle right here, which would be around 602. If we were to have it come all the way up here and then have a weekly candle closing above 602, then Wikicat would become also bullish on the weekly, just as it's now bullish on the daily. It would have to break its high of this range right here. 6027, let's call it 6028, let's call it that. If we could get it above here, guys, then it would definitely be more indicative of Wikicat becoming bullish on the weekly. And the higher the time frames, the more powerful it is. And that's exactly what we'd want to see. So let's go ahead and check it out here on the monthly. Now this is Wikicat on the monthly. And first off, the first thing that I like here is where this green monthly candle closed. I gotta say that is actually a good sign. This monthly candle is a good sized candle and it wasn't sold off. Usually they would sell off all the way down here to around half of it. You see, if it was going to be, a fake out, and we're gonna have a reversal to the downside. But I noticed that it closed almost near to the top of this wick. It closed closer then to the top of this wick, which is a very good sign, a very good indication. And then we are here on April, the start of April. We saw that after it had made this very healthy pump, we came over here on April and we had people taking some profits. However, very interesting, it did not even go down to half the width, the size of this candle, which is the norm. Before, it was entirely bought up. I know that April is still, far from being over, but regardless of that, currently, from my observation, Wikicat is looking very healthy on the monthly, guys. If it manages to hold this level of support that it's currently at, obviously it's sitting on support based off this candle right here and its previous monthly candle in March. It's holding that support right now, as you guys can see. Can you see it? It's currently holding support. So if it does that until the end of April, I'd say, guys, it's looking pretty good for Wikicat. And what would happen is it would continue, it probably will consolidate a little bit, but it will continue on heading for higher numbers. And let's hope, because personally, I was hoping, or I was more comfortable with Wikicat starting to pump when Bitcoin has crashed a little bit lower. I was looking for Bitcoin to crash a little bit lower before we have the pump that we're all looking for, because I know that much of the liquidity is going to be coming into Bitcoin. And I'm expecting, much like I've mentioned before, I'm expecting much bigger candles when we're going to have the bigger pumps that are going to take out several zeros. You see, the daily candles, the weekly candles are going to be God candles. They're going to be much bigger, even bigger than this one right here. And people are going to take profits, but they're not going to be closing halfway. They're going to be closing much, much higher with a much smarter wick. You see, that's what I'm expecting. That's what I'm looking for. And so personally, I was kind of looking for Bitcoin to first crash much lower, probably down into the 30s to 20s, before we can have that violent takeoff of not only Wikicat, but several of these other meme coins. But the reality and the fact is, no one, including myself, no one knows when the bullish switch is going to take place for these coins, when the liquidity is suddenly going to be pouring into them. But I know that it's coming. One of these nights, we're going to go to sleep. And for all of you guys who have been holding these prophetic coins, in the morning, you're going to be amazed at what you see in your exchanges and your apps, because these coins are going to be pumping several 100% in just a space of one night. Now, as regards the bearish scenario for Wikicat on the monthly, as I've stated, I like the way that Wikicat looks on the monthly. It appears to be very bullish currently. However, that can change as a result of, unfortunately, Bitcoin. Bitcoin, guys. If Bitcoin starts to crash significantly, and like I said, we don't know when that bullish switch will be turned on. If Bitcoin proceeds to crash significantly, there's a possibility that before we have that pump that we're looking for, Wikicat could turn over just as it did up here, guys, and start crashing back down here as well. That is the bearish scenario for Wikicat. You see, if Bitcoin were to start crashing, it could follow suit and crash. But however, if Bitcoin continues to capitulate at the current prices where it's at, then there's still a chance that we may have a bullish scenario for Wikicat. That is, of course, if it holds this level of support that is currently at, and it's not bothered by Bitcoin's price movement. You see, so the bottom line is, at some point, Bitcoin crashing will be an impetus. It will actually be very good for Wikicat, because we're going to have liquidity coming from Bitcoin into coins like Wikicat. So Bitcoin crashing at some point will be like a booster for Wikicat. But since we don't know exactly when that is, it's very possible that if Bitcoin were to just start crashing, it may affect Wikicat's price negatively temporarily. Temporarily, guys. Because very, very soon, the pump is coming. And you guys will no longer be asking, is this the pump? It will be pretty clear. It will be very obvious, guys, when these pumps come for not only Wikicat, but several of these other coins, Lunk, BNB Tiger, and, Volt. Because you guys are going to be seeing God candles, something you guys have never seen before. You see, it's going to be pretty obvious. So that is what I think, guys. You've asked for my opinion, and I've given it to you. The bearish scenario and the bullish scenario for Wikicat. On the monthly, it looks good because we've had this monthly candle closing all the way up here. On the daily, it looks bullish as well. And we want to pay attention to it on the weekly to see where this weekly candle will close, because it may very well be a sign or an indicator of what it's getting ready to do next. I don't like this. This wick is a little bit too long. in my opinion. And it may very well indicate the top of this move. You see, it may indicate the top of this move. That's not concrete. Of course not. It's not concrete. I'm just saying it potentially may be indicating the top of this move. Yeah, we don't want to have too much of these prominent wicks at all. You know, we don't want to have these candles closing with these long wicks because they usually indicate the top of the moves. So that's it, guys. You've asked, and I've shared with you my opinion as to where I think Wikicat is going and what it's about to do. Pay attention and look to see if it manages to pump all the way up here to the top of this candle at 6028. And if it manages to close above here, guys, Wikicat will then become bullish on the weekly. Even though I know I just stated that, it appears to be bullish on the monthly as well. We want to see it get above here and then starts consolidating, and it will look a whole lot better. And then the prospects of a bullish breakout will be more concrete. So that is it for this video. You guys take very good care of yourselves on this First Fruits Easter Sunday. May Yah bless you. Peace, shalom. Until next time.